The alarm screamed at 5 in the morning. Arjun's hand reached out from under the blanket, fumbling to silence it. His eyes were still heavy with sleep, his body begging for just 5 more minutes. But then he heard it. The sound of footsteps. His father was already awake, already moving, already living the life. Arjun was too afraid to start. And in that moment, lying in his warm bed while his father prepared for another disciplined day, Arjun realized something that would haunt him forever. He was wasting his life. One snooze button at a time. He had a degree that meant nothing to him, a job he hated, and a future that looked like a long gray tunnel with no light at the end. Every morning was the same. Wake up late, rush through breakfast, sit in traffic. Drag himself to a desk where he answered emails that didn't matter and attended meetings that solved nothing. He came home exhausted, not from hard work, but from the weight of knowing he was living someone else's dream. And every night, before he fell asleep, he promised himself tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow he would start. Tomorrow he would change. But tomorrow never came. His father, Raghav, was different. Raghav was 52, but he moved like a man in his 30s. Every single morning, without fail, he woke up at 5, no alarm needed. His body had become a clock. By the time Arjun woke up at 8 or 9, his father had already finished a workout, read for an hour, planned his day, and started working on his small business. Raghav ran a modest furniture workshop. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't making him rich, but it was his, and he was proud of it. He was disciplined, focused, intentional, everything Arjun was not. Arjun resented it sometimes, the way his father never seemed tired, the way he never complained, the way he made everything look so easy. But deep down, Arjun knew the truth. It wasn't easy. His father had just made a choice Arjun was too scared to make. One evening, after another soul-crushing day at work, Arjun came home and found his father sitting on the balcony, sipping tea and watching the sunset. There was a calmness about him, a peace. Arjun sat down next to him, and for a long time, neither of them said anything. Then Arjun spoke. His voice was shaking. "Dad, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I feel stuck. I feel lost. I wake up every day, and I feel like I'm drowning, and I don't know how to fix it." Raghav didn't respond immediately. He took another sip of his tea, his eyes still on the horizon. Then he turned to his son and said, "You know what your problem is, Arjun? You're waiting. You're waiting for motivation. You're waiting for inspiration. You're waiting for the perfect moment. But life doesn't work like that. Discipline doesn't wait for you to feel ready. You just start, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Arjun looked at his father confused. "But how? How do you just start when everything feels so heavy?" Raghav smiled. "You start small. You start with one thing, and you do it every single day. No excuses, no negotiations. For me, it was waking up at 5. That one decision changed everything. Because when you wake up early, you take control. You're not reacting to the world, you're creating it." Arjun wanted to believe him, but doubt crept in. "What if I fail? What if I wake up early and nothing changes?" Raghav leaned forward. His voice was firm but kind. "Then you wake up early again the next day. And the day after that. Discipline isn't about results, Arjun. It's about identity. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps promises to themselves. And once you become that person, everything else follows." That night, Arjun couldn't sleep. His father's words played over and over in his mind. He thought about all the years he had wasted, all the dreams he had buried, all the potential he had ignored. And he made a decision. A real one. He set his alarm for 5 in the morning, and this time he promised himself he wouldn't hit snooze. The first morning was hell. The alarm went off, and every cell in his body screamed at him to go back to sleep. His mind flooded with excuses. "It's too early. You're too tired. You can start tomorrow." But then he remembered his father's face, the way he looked at him on the balcony. The quiet disappointment mixed with hope. And Arjun forced himself out of bed. His legs felt like concrete, his eyes burned, but he got up. He stumbled to the bathroom, splashed cold water on his face, and walked into the living room. And there, sitting with a book and a cup of coffee, was his father. Raghav looked up, surprised. And then he smiled. Not a big smile, just a small, proud nod. And that nod meant everything. Arjun didn't know what to do with himself at 5 in the morning, so he just sat there. His father handed him a book. "Read this," he said. It was a book about habits, discipline, and building a meaningful life. Arjun opened it, and for the first time in years, he read without distraction. No phone, no TV, just him and the words on the page, and something inside him shifted. It was small, almost invisible, but it was there. The second morning was just as hard, maybe harder, because the novelty was gone. Now it was just discipline. Raw, unglamorous discipline. But Arjun got up again and again. By the end of the first week, something strange started happening. He didn't feel more energized. He didn't feel transformed. But he felt something else. He felt proud. Proud that he had kept his word. Proud that he hadn't given up. And that pride, small as it was, started to grow. His father didn't praise him, didn't make a big deal out of it. But every morning, when Arjun walked into the living room, Raghav was there. A silent witness, a steady presence, and that was enough. By the second week, Arjun started adding things. After reading, he started journaling, just a few lines, what he was grateful for, what he wanted to accomplish, what he was afraid of. It felt awkward at first, but slowly it became a release, a way to process the chaos in his mind. Then he added a workout. Nothing intense, just 20 minutes of stretching and push-ups. But it made him feel alive, strong, capable, and then something unexpected happened. His job, the one he hated, started to feel different. Not because the job changed, but because he changed. He was no longer dragging himself through the day. He was arriving with energy, with focus, with a sense of purpose. His boss noticed, his colleagues noticed. But more importantly, Arjun noticed. He realized that discipline in one area was bleeding into every other area. Waking up early wasn't just about waking up early. It was about showing up for himself. And once he started doing that, everything else became easier. But it wasn't all smooth. There were mornings when he failed. When the alarm went off and he turned it off and went back to sleep. When he felt like a fraud, like he was pretending to be someone he wasn't. And on those mornings, the shame was heavy. He avoided his father's eyes. He felt like he had let him down. But Raghav never scolded him, never judged him. He just said, "Tomorrow is a new day," and that was the lesson. Discipline wasn't perfection. It was persistence. It was getting back up after falling. It was forgiving yourself and trying again. And slowly, the failures became fewer. The wins became more consistent. And Arjun started to see a version of himself he didn't know existed, a version that was capable, resilient, strong. Months passed. Arjun's life didn't transform overnight. There was no sudden success, no viral moment, but there was progress, quiet, steady progress. He started working on a side project, something he had always wanted to do, but never had the courage to start. A blog about personal growth and discipline. At first, no one read it, but he kept writing every single day because it wasn't about the audience, it was about the commitment, the promise he made to himself. His father watched from a distance, proud, quiet. He didn't need to say much. His presence was enough. And one evening after Arjun published his 50th blog post, Raghav walked up to him and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're becoming the man I always knew you could be." Arjun's eyes welled up, not because of the words, but because he knew his father was right. He was becoming someone new, someone he respected, and it all started with one decision, one alarm, one morning at 5. A year later, Arjun quit his job. It was terrifying, but it was also freeing. He had saved enough money, built enough momentum, and most importantly, built enough belief in himself. He started freelancing, writing, coaching, helping others build discipline and find their purpose. It wasn't easy. There were months when money was tight, when doubt crept in, when he wondered if he had made a mistake. But every morning he woke up at 5, and every morning his father was there. A reminder that discipline wasn't about the destination, it was about the journey, the daily choice to show up, to keep going, to not give up. And then one day, Arjun got a message from a young man who had been reading his blog. The message said, "You changed my life. I was lost, depressed, on the edge of giving up. But your words gave me hope. I started waking up at 5, and everything is different now. Thank you." Arjun read the message 3 times, and then he cried, not because he was sad, but because he realized something profound. His father's discipline hadn't just changed his life. It had started a ripple that was now reaching others. And that ripple would keep going, long after he was gone. He walked out to the balcony, where his father was sitting, just like he had been that evening a year ago. Arjun sat down next to him and showed him the message. Raghav read it slowly, And then he smiled. This is what discipline does, Arjun. It doesn't just change you, it changes everyone around you, because people don't follow your words, they follow your actions, and when they see you show up every single day, they start believing they can too. Arjun nodded. I couldn't have done this without you, Dad. Raghav shook his head. Yes, you could have. I just showed you the door. You're the one who walked through it. They sat there in silence, watching the sunset. Two men, two journeys, but one truth. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. And the moment you start walking across that bridge, everything changes. Not all at once, but slowly, steadily, powerfully. Years later, Arjun's blog turned into a book. The book became a bestseller. He was invited to speak at conferences, schools, universities. People called him a success. But Arjun never forgot where it all started. In the quiet darkness of 5 in the morning, with a father who believed in discipline more than talent, more than luck, more than anything else. And every single morning, no matter where he was in the world, Arjun woke up at 5. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Because that hour, that sacred, silent hour was his. It was where he reconnected with himself, where he remembered his journey, where he honored his father's legacy. Raghav eventually grew older. His body slowed down, but his spirit never did. Even in his 70s, he woke up at 5. Even when his hands shook and his legs were weak, he woke up. Because discipline wasn't a phase, it was a lifestyle, identity, a legacy. And when Raghav passed away, peacefully in his sleep at the age of 78, Arjun didn't fall apart. He grieved, he cried, he missed his father every single day. But he also felt grateful. Grateful that his father had given him the greatest gift a parent can give a child. Not money. Not connections, not even love, though there was plenty of that, but discipline, the ability to show up for himself, to keep going when things got hard, to build a life worth living. At his father's funeral, Arjun spoke. He told the story of the 5 AM secret. The story of how one simple habit changed everything. He talked about the mornings, the struggles, the wins, the failures, the transformation, and as he spoke, he saw people nodding, wiping their eyes, taking notes, and he knew his father's legacy would live on, not in monuments or awards, but in the lives of people who chose to wake up, to show up, to not give up. The last thing Arjun said at the funeral was this: my father didn't leave me money. He didn't leave me a business. He left me something far more valuable. He left me discipline, and because of that, I will never be poor. I will never be lost. I will never be without purpose, because discipline is the foundation of everything, and if you build your life on that foundation, nothing can shake you, nothing can stop you, nothing can break you. The crowd stood and clapped. Not because it was expected, but because they felt it, the truth, the power, the hope, and somewhere in the quiet stillness of the universe, Raghav smiled. Because his son had learned the secret, the 5 AM secret, the secret that discipline is love, that showing up is success, that the person you become in the early morning darkness is the person who changes the world in the bright afternoon light. So here's the question. The question Arjun asks at the end of every speech. The question his father asked him on that balcony years ago. The question that will determine the rest of your life. Will you wake up? Will you show up? Will you keep going? Because your destiny isn't written in the stars. It's written in the choices you make every single morning. And the greatest choice you'll ever make is this: to stop waiting, to stop hoping, to stop wishing, and to start right now at 5 in the morning or whenever your 5 AM is, because discipline doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your fears. It doesn't care about your past. It only cares about one thing. Are you willing to show up? And if you are, everything changes. Your relationships, your career, your health, your happiness, your legacy, everything. So set the alarm. Make the promise. And when that alarm goes off tomorrow morning, remember Arjun. Remember Raghav. Remember that you are one decision away from a completely different life. A life built on discipline. A life built on purpose. A life built on showing up. And that life is waiting for you. Right now. In the quiet, sacred darkness of 5 in the morning. Don't let it wait any longer. Wake up, show up, and become the person you were always meant to be. Because that's the secret. That's the 5 AM secret. And now, you know it too.